Welcome back, it's me, Lou. Alright, so today's video is going to be a double feature, and just to warn you in advance, this will not be a full unboxing and review. We are strictly going to look at these action figures as they are mint on card. So I will not be removing them from the packaging. So let's jump into the time machine and head back to the early 2000s as we take a look at two different versions of Supergirl. Alright, these were produced by DC Direct way back in the day. And for some of you that do remember, DC Direct, it was a toy line produced by DC Comics. I believe they were distributed by Diamond Distribution, which back in the day, at least for DC, they used to distribute the comic books to the comic book stores. So I believe they was called DC Direct because these specific toys were aimed at the direct market. These were action figures that you wouldn't be able to find like at your normal retail locations. So you wouldn't find something like this at Walmart or at Target. These were aimed more so for the specialty stores, like the comic book shops, or like the Tower Records or FYE. So on the left we have one version of Supergirl as produced by DC Direct, and on this side we have another version of Supergirl also produced by DC Direct. Alright, let's start with this one right here. Alright, so this version of Supergirl, I believe this costume in particular might have debuted in the original Superman, the animated series, which was produced, I believe, in the mid to late 90s, I think. And I want to say that costume design was so popular that they eventually carried it over into the comic books. This was a lifetime ago, so if I'm completely missing the point or if I'm off on my details, feel free to comment down below. But to the best of my knowledge, I think this costume was originally debuted in the cartoons, and then they eventually just carried it over into the comic books. It's a very 90s kind of look for Supergirl. She's wearing the belly shirt, which was popular back then. She had the boots with the thick soles. It was a cool look. I dig this look a lot. The package design's kind of eye-catching. You had the Superman logo at the top. Yeah, the planet Krypton exploding behind her. The package, the card, and the package, it feels really too much. It feels a little bit excessive because the action figure is very small. You're looking at a figure that's maybe about 5.5 inches tall, and it's just surrounded with a lot of empty space around her. It's almost like too much negative space. It seems like they could have cut this card size down by like 25%. On the back, some other figures in this wave. There was Brainiac 13, Superman, Bizarro, Cyborg Superman, Doomsday, and Supergirl. And like I mentioned at the start of the video, DC Direct, these were toys that were aimed at the direct market, like comic book shops. But this one more specifically was available at Tower Records. Rest in peace. I love Tower Records. And at the time, this figure retailed for $14.99. Alright, so you can collect the entire Superman line from DC Direct, and we took a look at those over here. Brief descriptions for each character, which is nice. It kind of talks about the world, the universe these characters inhabit. And it provides some backstory to all these characters. Supergirl in particular. Supergirl possesses tremendous powers and determination. She hopes that one day she may live up to the example set by her role model, Superman. And this figure features only 9 points of articulation, which is not a whole lot. Nowadays you're looking at action figures that come in at the same size that offer up to like 30 points of articulation. So, action figure engineering has come a long way since, way back, since the early 2000s, late 90s. It's kind of cool that this little description here describes, not only the short back history of each character, but it even mentions how many points of articulation you're getting with each toy. For Superman, it says you're getting 21 points of articulation. I believe that's this one here. Bizarro, also 21 points. Brainiac has 9 points of articulation and 6-piece flexible tendrils. Supergirl, unfortunately, only has 9 points of articulation. Cyborg Superman is 18. And Doomsday is only 9 points of articulation. And all these figures come with like the Superman S shield as their display stand. Some other cool toys from DC Direct. There's 2 packs. There's the Batman and Robin. There's Batgirl and Joker. I believe this is more so focused on the story The Killing Joke. There's old school Superboy and Supergirl, and I believe they even come with the pets. I think that's Crypto, and I forgot the name of the cat. And then there's the Superman and Lois Lane Deluxe figure set. This is a cool set. I actually have this. But, you know, much like the other figures from this time period, very limited in articulation. So yeah, this is one version of Supergirl. It's a very dated look. But I do have an appreciation for this, you know, this costume. You know, it really takes me back to this period of my life. You know, I was in college, or maybe, you know, just recently out of college when this action figure came out. And it's pretty neat. It brings back a lot of memories. And over here, we have another Supergirl figure. This one, as she appears in the Superman Batman comic in the story Return of Supergirl. This is from Series 2. Right, so I do remember this comic book. I believe it was written by Jeff Loeb and illustrated by Michael Turner, or the late Michael Turner. And if you're wondering why this Supergirl looks as weird as she does, she's very slender, very lanky. She's almost very straw-like. You know, it almost kind of like resembles like the Slender Man, and she has like these giant eyes. This is pretty much how artist Michael Turner illustrated her in the comic book. So, you know, this action figure is like almost like a near representation of the 2D drawings in the comic book. You know, here's some artwork by Michael Turner here. And if you picked up this comic book and you read it, you know, Supergirl looks just as skinny as she does like with this action figure. It's kind of weird, but you know, back then it was very stylized. He was a very popular artist. You know, if you're a comic book reader, you might remember Michael Turner working for Top Cow. And I believe he worked on like Witchblade, Fathom, and later on went on to produce Aspen Comics. You know, this is a very cool action figure. You know, even though the anatomy is kind of bizarre looking, you know, it's a product of its time. It's very true to form to how this character looked in the comic book. And it's awesome that, you know, the display stand also doubles as the masthead for this package design. You know, you're getting the Superman Batman logo. On the back, based on the Return of Supergirl storyline in DC Comics Superman Batman, featuring the art of Michael Turner, who we just talked about. And also in this lineup for Wave 2, we got Superman, we got Batman, and he's using Orion's little, I forgot what it's called, that little kind of like hoverboard deal. There's Darkseid. And then we have 2 different versions of Supergirl. We have Supergirl, one we're reviewing, and then Supergirl Corrupted. And then they even give us brief descriptions of each character. Alright, so if you remember the story, and to the best of my knowledge, here's what I remember. So, this story features the return of Supergirl. She's like in like an escape pod or whatever, and it crash lands in, I think, like Gotham Harbor. And then once they realize who she is, you know, they kind of realize it's Kara. And, you know, she has all the powers of Superman, but she's young and she's untrained. So, you know, they want to keep her safe, so they send her. So I think Wonder Woman takes her in, and then she trains on Paradise Island with the rest of the Amazonians. But I think Darkseid gets wind of her, and then he sends like an army of Doomsdays, and they like attack Paradise Island, and they kidnap Supergirl, and then Darkseid corrupts her, which is hence this version of Supergirl here. Supergirl Corrupted. And then Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman, they seek the aid of like Big Barda and Orion. And then they travel to Apocalypse and try to save Supergirl. And that's what I kind of remember the story being about. But you can see here, you know, this was... There's no date on here, so I don't remember when these action figures came out. I want to say early 2000s at the latest. But, you know, these action figures were a product of their time. You know, the articulation is very limited. As you can see here, like, for example, the crotch area. You know, a figure like here, the legs could only kick up. You know, there's no, like, outward movement. There's no, like, thigh cut. There's no thigh swivel. Likewise, with the arms, you know, there's no bicep cut. You know, you're looking at only single pins. So, back then, you know, the figure engineering was very, very limited, unlike today. But I know I do have an appreciation for these action figures. You know, these really take me back to a very specific period in my life. You know, somewhere around college and post-college. You know, I was very into comic books. Still am, but there's just something very enthusiastic and energetic about this time period. And that's it's really cool that, you know, DC took the time out to, like, you know, produce very different iterations of the character for very specific storylines. And if you're a comic book fan too, it's just kind of cool that you had toys that were tailored directly for you. You know, like I mentioned, these aren't standard retail toys. You couldn't buy this at a Toys R Us or at a Walmart or a Target. You know, you had to go to a specialty store for these. So that always kind of made these figures feel a little bit more special. Alright, so, yeah, these are fun toys to have. You know, if you're a fan of Supergirl, you know, there's so many different iterations and looks for her. The character has been reproduced in toy form many times over, and these are just, you know, two versions I wanted to look at. Do you need this for your collection? If you're a Superman fan, I'm going to say why not. They're cool to, you know, I think they're cool to own. They're both very eye-catching, especially since their designs are so unique from one another. You know, just, you know, hop onto eBay or, you know, Facebook Marketplace. And, you know, just make sure that if you get these, get them in good shape. Make sure you don't pay too much for them. And I think, you know, they'll be very much welcome additions to your, like, Superman collection. Alright, so let's close this video out. Once again, my name is Lou. Thank you so much for checking out this video. If you're new to my channel, welcome. If you're a returning viewer or subscriber, thank you so much for your continued likes, comments, and support. I greatly appreciate it. So, until the next video, be safe, take care of yourself, and most importantly, be happy. And I will talk to you later. Later.